Pro here. Today we review an ale and discuss the old left versus the new left. Hello and welcome to Beer and Conversation with Pigweed and Crowhill. Good evening, Pigweed.
Good evening, Crowhill.
What's on your mind today?
Well, I imagine the kiddies out there all remember our very first episode.
So it's like in 1921 or something?
Something like that. And to introduce myself, I kind of gave my political journey and played the 5-band electrical band.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What was that?
Sign, everywhere a sign. Yeah. What's the name of that song?
Just called Signs.
Okay, yeah.
Right. Blocking up the scenery.
Breaking my mind.
Do this, don't do that.
Can't you read the sign?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
And there was this hippie ethic. I was a little too young to be a hippie, but I came to admire that sort of...
Leave me alone.
Freedom-loving...
Yeah.
Question, be skeptical of authority.
Mm-hmm.
Why does there need to be government everywhere putting up a sign telling everybody what they can and can't do all the time?
Right.
And so that was something that I embraced, and over the years I continued to embrace it as I became a conservative and saw that my liberalism was changing before my very eyes.
With speech codes might have been the first thing where it was the left that was promoting speech codes at universities back in the 80s, maybe.
Property rights and,
homeowners associations.
Homeowners associations.
Right.
I'm like, so I've heard people say the phrase, I didn't leave the Democrat Party left me.
Yeah.
Right. And so that was kind of how I felt.
Mm-hmm.
Now there are a few places, guns and abortion, where I moved right. But a lot of the core principles are the ones I had when I was a liberal.
Yeah.
And they're just not there anymore.
Yeah.
That was the old left. This is the new left. And in the 4 or 5 years or whatever, how long we've been doing the show,
mm-hmm.
it's become even much more evident.
It has.
So we didn't get into it all that much in that first show, but I thought maybe it's time.
Okay. Let's just do a complete analysis. What was the old left like? What's the new left like? And where are the points of difference?
There you go.
Okay. Fantastic. So what we have to drink here today is a Pretzel Wheat Beer by Aldus Brewing Company.
What do you know? Ale
with real pretzels, natural and artificial flavors. And the funny thing is, when I poured it, I says, it looks like a pretzel. It's about the color of a pretzel.
They didn't even mention real pretzel colors. So I guess that's what, do a snack first?
Yeah,
or a snack
absolutely.
after?
So you have to eat a pretzel so you can get into your brain what a pretzel tastes like. Although these are a little bit seasoned, so it's not just pretzel. But those are good pretzels. Have you had these, the Dots pretzels?
No, that is a good pretzel.
Yeah, that is good. Dots home-style pretzels. All right. So then what do we got here? I mean, it's got an interesting aroma. It smells a bit like a pretzel.
Oh, yeah. There's something a bit bready.
Yeah.
Now let me wash this.
Yeah, wow. And it's got a bready, pretzel-y sort of a flavor to it. It is a pretzel-flavored beer.
Huh.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. And, and with a pretzel on the side, that's real nice.
Interesting.
Who is this? Where's Aldus? Where are they from?
Yeah, I think we had another one they're Hanover, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
We had another one from Aldus just a little while ago. So keep sending them, guys. Send us some more of these. This is good. But very interesting. It looks like a pretzel, smells like a pretzel, tastes like a pretzel. And in a good way, not in a...
a soft pretzel kind of a... Not salty.
Yeah, right. Not like a Go's salty.
An unsalted pretzel.
Yes. Okay, so we're looking at when we say the old left. I was doing a little bit of research on this to get a sense of what's going on, and there's this thing called classical liberalism. You hear more and more people these days say, "I really call myself a classical liberal more than a conservative."
Right.
And
boy, it gets confusing.
It does.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I looked up a little bit. What is classical? And classical conservatism, they're talking about things from the 19th century, late 19th century, early 20th century.
Yeah, this is Enlightenment liberalism.
Yeah. So classical liberalism is sort of
Adam
out of scope.
Smith.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's a little bit out of scope for what we're talking about. We don't really want to go that far back. Yeah. We basically want to talk about the old left that we grew up with. The
hippie liberalism.
Yeah, the 60s left. 50s, 60s, 70s, that kind of left versus the modern woke
Right.
left. Yeah.
Or, I mean, in some cases, this party, this leftism is radically different from even Bill Clinton.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But we are more talking about, well, I don't know, George McGovern or something.
Yeah. Yeah. JFK versus modern day, or
Right.
something along those lines. The kind of left that we grew up thinking this is what the Democratic Party was about, and this is what liberalism was
Right.
about.
And so my 5-man electrical band, what I was thinking of is I'm looking up to the Woodstock crowd that was too young to attend.
Yeah.
What they had. Well, you had a nice little chart. You just want to go down this little chart quickly, and then we can.
Sure.
Or do you
yeah.
want to? Or do you want to
start
talk about the definitions and stuff?
No, that's fine. Let's go with your red and green chart there.
Yes. So you have resist authority.
Yeah.
Well, yes.
That's what the left. That was a hippie thing. That was what the left was about. Resist authority.
Yeah. And what do we have now? We have
now,
obey authority.
Yeah.
It's like,
put the mask on, darn it.
Yes. How dare you challenge the experts?
Yes.
And that's all coming from the left.
It is coming from the left. It is very, very different.
My body, my choice. This is the early, when was Roe v. Wade?
73.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So here we are, 70s.
Yeah.
Hippies. And now we've got mandatory injections.
Right. Yes. Although they did still have mandatory vaccines and things back then for like measles and smallpox and stuff like that. But
right.
yeah. But yeah, I mean the COVID was a little bit less of that kind of a case.
Yeah,
you couldn't make that same case with COVID.
Right. You will be fired. You will be kicked out of the military.
Right. Yeah. And there are a lot of ways that the left has gone away from that. Anyway, go on to the
yeah, that's it. Bring the troops home.
Right.
How about this? Vietnam. Bring the troops.
And now you've got a lot of the leftists are like war all the time. Actually, everybody has become war all the time now. It's getting a little disturbing.
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton was quite a warmonger,
Yeah. I mean, Gaddafi had already come over to our side, basically, and she just couldn't wait to murder that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, now it's troops everywhere.
Right. What do we have here? This is more of a joke here, because make all drugs legal. They're still all about make all drugs legal, but
except ivermectin. Right?
That's right. Just a joke.
Yeah.
Free speech.
Yeah,
right?
and now they've become.
Oh,
this is probably the biggest
boy.
area
Yeah.
because the left really used to be very pro free speech, and they've completely reversed course on that. Now it's it started off with campus speech codes. And it's moved into what was called political correctness, which is now kind of morphed into this woke idea.
Right.
And the woke idea is basically everybody must conform to a far left perspective on race, gender, or sexuality.
Or you ruin your life.
Yes, exactly. And that's, I've seen, I just got to do a slight sidebar here. I've seen a bunch of stuff recently and where people will say, woke, what are you talking about woke? You can't even define woke. Yes, of course you can define woke. It's very simple to define. It's lockstep conformity with an extreme left position related to gender, sex, and race.
Right.
And
maybe a little climate change thrown in there.
Yeah. So it's just the idea that everybody has to believe this thing or you're a horrible cretin. That's wokeness. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the one more step in your free speech analysis is banning online speech.
Yeah,
Have you
exactly.
seen how horrible Britain is now?
Oh, I know.
You say something that hurts somebody's feelings, they will come on Facebook.
Yes.
You commit actual crimes. Well, if you're a Muslim immigrant,
Yes.
that's ignored.
Yeah.
But if you say, I don't like Muslim immigrant crime, that is hate speech, and it is actually they don't have First Amendment.
Right.
First Amendment.
Have you heard?
There's actual laws to put you in jail, and they will do it.
Did you see the quotes from the newly minted Democratic VP nomination, Walz? Tim Walz?
Yeah. I think so.
He has this quote that should disqualify him from office, honestly. where he's saying there's no free speech protection for something that the government has deemed as disinformation.
What?
Yeah, it's like an absolutely insane quote. You listen to him say this and you think, what in the world are you talking about?
I see. So everybody has free speech until the government decides you don't.
Yeah, that's exactly what we need for free speech. That's
I'm pretty sure that's exactly why it's number one on the list.
Yes, is so that we can criticize the government, so that we can say, no, you're not.
You
right
don't
about
get
that.
to define what's real and what's not real.
Yeah.
And what's permissible, what's not permissible.
That's right.
My God.
Yeah, it's like for him to say that should like immediately disqualify him from office in the United States. Anyway, okay.
This one here's a little funky here. This is Save the Whales. That was a big deal even through the 80s and 90s. I don't know, for some reason we didn't. Yeah. I don't know. Have we solved the problem, or it just came out of favor or something? So,
yeah, I think it's not as big a deal anymore.
Right, yeah. And wind turbines before whales.
That one, wind turbines, I think they mean wind turbines before birds.
Yeah, I think, yes. I mean, also, but there is suggestion that they're beaching themselves. And
it's because of the wind turbines.
Well, they are suggesting somehow the electrical current that's it's generating electrical current that's running through wires.
It's also got to generate some sort of low
electromagnetic.
No, I'm just thinking of the motion.
Yeah,
it has to generate some sort of low frequency noise.
Right,
that might be messing up.
Right, and we still don't know exactly how they navigate, but maybe that's interrupting their navigation system.
Yeah, supposedly whales have had some problems with so many ships out in the water because you have all these motors running these ships, and that puts this low frequency vibration out in the ocean.
Why would that be the same thing? Yeah. And then plus that, or you see, this is a rolling field of green hills and cows grazing. That's an environmental problem. And then you see the same field just plastered with solar panels that have been destroyed by a hailstorm. Yeah. And that's pro environment.
Let me just say a couple things about that. Yeah, this idea that a field full of solar panels should make you feel all green and happy about the environment. Okay, first of all, what did they have to cut down to make this field of solar panels? Second of all, how many critters lived in that field that you have to kill? That you have to maintain that field. You have to suppress the growth of the grass. You have to kill the rabbits. You have to kill other things that are coming in there. Also, where did the solar panels come from? How did they get dug up and created? And how are you going to dispose of them? The idea that this is some like green utopia is so absurd. But it's I can just imagine the liberal riding by and seeing a field of solar panels and feeling, oh, that's so wonderful.
Warm and fuzzy.
Yeah, they feel this.
No, they probably do think it's disgusting. They just don't want it because they don't live there. But it's okay. I'm just passing through.
That's right. Exactly. I don't want to live next to these things.
How about this? This was the most depressing photograph. So there's those giant windmills. I don't know. They're 40 feet across.
Oh,
right?
they're big.
Diameter. They're big.
Yeah.
And so there's no shade anywhere. And so there's this long shadow, and there's 100 sheep bunched together in the shadow of this because they cut down all the trees. Right. Because you don't get proper airflow if there are a bunch of trees around.
I see.
So you have to. So
let's chop down some trees to save the environment.
Yes. Yeah, while all the sheep gather in this skinny shadow. Oh, it was heartbreaking.
Poor sheep. Okay, so what else?
I've got distrust multinational corporations and
now. So it's the conservatives mostly who are calling foul on multinational corporations like Google and Apple and Facebook and Meta, all of these guys, and it's the liberals who are saying no, let them regulate our speech. Let BlackRock exactly. Well, yeah, let BlackRock enforce their ESG. Let Google enforce their speech codes. Right. Yes, it's the left who is in favor of the multinational corporations, which is weird because it was never that way before. They were always very suspicious of big.
It is weird. Now, can I introduce my meme of the day?
Okay.
What do we have? We have JFK on the left
and good old AOC on the right. So, if a liberal from 1960, such as JFK, showed up today, they'd be considered conservative. Absolutely true. Yes. If you look at what JFK did, he was much more conservative than people think. If a liberal from today, like AOC, showed up in 1960, they'd be considered an absolute lunatic, which is, of course, true.
100% true.
Nobody in 1960 thought for a second that we should be importing tons of people from other countries, that we should be transing kids, that we should all the stupid things.
Criminals are actually victims and should be treated kindly.
Right. Yeah, that we should defund the police. Nobody in the 60s would have thought any of those things. So another list of things that I thought was an interesting distinction between the old left and the new left is the old left was for the working class.
Yeah.
They were pro-union, and they were pro-union not because the unions were promoting liberal causes, but they were pro-union because the unions were standing up for the working guy, for the plumber, for the carpenter, for that that kind of guy.
Yeah.
And nowadays, Trump's following is way more working class than the left.
Yes. So this doesn't. You don't have to go back very far. This is just simply pre-Obama.
Mm-hmm.
The corporations were money-loving Republicans, and Joe Lunchpail, working class guy, is a Democrat.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very easy.
And it's flip-flopped completely.
In 3 presidents.
Yes, it's completely flip-flopped.
This is that's Obama's.
Nowadays, Trump appeals to the working class.
Yeah, I mean, a Queens billionaire.
Yeah.
Is the hero of the working class, and
Amazing.
he doesn't go out and. This I always started listening to this. It was about inauthenticity.
Mm-hmm.
How when they go to like Kamala, somehow she's got a Southern accent.
Right,
all of a sudden.
I know.
Yeah. And Hillary Clinton and there's always the guy who puts on Carhartts and goes to speak to the working man. Then there's Donald Trump. Where was he? He was
wearing a suit.
Yeah, it's like 140 degrees, and he's at some car manufacturing plant. Yeah, and he's Queen's accent, suit.
Yeah.
You think they're like, he doesn't seem like us. We already know he's not like us, but he's not a phony.
Yes, it's very interesting because that's exactly what politicians do.
Oh my God!
They put on the corduroys when
Yes.
when they're and they
people are so stupid they don't see through that.
I know that you think just because you're wearing this costume that you and Trump doesn't do any of that nonsense. I saw a funny picture today, or it was a little video of Trump riding a surfboard in a suit.
Right.
Because that's his thing. He's wearing a suit all the time. Okay, so working class individual rights, which used to be a hallmark of the left, is really not anymore. Now everything's about conformity. Free market. The left used to be free market. It's not anymore. Laissez-faire economics, civil liberties, which the left used to be in favor of. Now it's in favor of, like, contrast Martin Luther King, don't judge me by my skin color, versus the modern left, which is, no, everybody has to be judged by their skin color. And then the rule of law. And this is one that I thought was really telling, because the left used to be against sort of a old style conservative traditionalist model. That, remember, there was this big dispute back hundreds of years ago between...
I don't remember, but...
okay, yeah.
You mean reading about it?
Reading about it, yes. Reading about the dispute between Rex Lex and Lex Rex. Is law king or is the king law?
Okay.
Right? So it used to be that the conservatives tended to be somewhat monarchical in a sense.
Yeah, okay.
They kind of had this attitude that we're supporting the right of kings. That the king's above the law. The king sets the law.
So the progressives were about transferring power. Right?
Down. Everybody is treated equally. So the liberalism that we grew up with was, no, the rich guy gets the same deal as the poor guy. That we want the law applied equally to everybody. That was, they believed in the rule of law. But because of this erosion that we've seen on the left of any kind of absolute standard or a belief in any sort of a value that transcends their personal feelings at the moment, the rule of law has become, I will use the law as a tool to promote my ideological agenda.
Yes, and that's perfectly okay, because my agenda is so much better than your terrible agenda.
Yeah.
That if this is what it takes, then that's what we're going to do.
If the law's in the way, too bad. And I think an illustration of this was when somebody, you've seen that clip where somebody asked Nancy Pelosi whether it was consistent with the Constitution to do something that she was advocating at the time. And she's like, Constitution? What are you talking about?
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, right. And that has become the attitude of the left, is like there's no restraint.
It's getting in the way of our awesome agenda
Yeah.
to make life so much better for everybody, like it was in the Soviet Union.
Right. Yes. So the left, the old left, was in favor of rule of law, and the new left doesn't really see law as anything other than a tool to be manipulated, something to be changed. The whole living Constitution is a manifestation of the same thing.
Right.
It's like we can just morph and change what we believe the Constitution to be based on what we think is right now.
Right, which is how the previous Supreme Court has operated for the last 40 years.
Yeah.
Where it doesn't have to be grounded entirely in the Constitution.
Yeah.
It's just
Emanations and penumbras.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever that was.
Yes.
So, yeah, the traditionalist interpretation, or what's the word? Purist interpretation of the Constitution.
Originalist?
Originalist, yeah,
okay.
that's the word I'm looking for. It's just because what we have is a system of amendments.
Yes, exactly.
That's how you do it. You don't just massage and delete parts of the Constitution. You introduce amendments, and if they're
or if you want to delete parts, go ahead and delete parts. But the point is, you do it according to the law. You want to say we have a living Constitution? Yes, we do.
Yeah.
We can amend it.
Yes, that's
that's why we have amendments, because we
yes.
can change it. It's not like stuck in
1783. That's the suggestion.
That
it's not 1778 anymore, is it? So this thing's kind of irrelevant.
Well, that's why we have amendments.
That's what the system. That's
exactly, and that's the way it ought to be. Yes. So if
yes,
you want
it is
to change
living.
it,
You're right. It is living.
It is living in that respect. If you want to change it, fine, change it. Just change it legally, according to the procedures, according to the way it's supposed to be done. All right, I have a couple other little things that I wanted to go through. The role of government. So the classical liberalism would say the government should have minimal intervention in personal and economic affairs. So the liberalism that we grew up with, the hippie liberal, is like, the government shouldn't get off my back. Stop bothering me.
Yeah, I'll bang who I want. I'll smoke some weed if I want. And it's not the government's business.
And nowadays, the woke left sees government as a tool for causing societal change, for pushing an agenda and making people believe certain things and making people think certain things and act certain ways. So it's really changed. The 60s left was not didn't see government as a tool to push change on people, but the modern woke left does.
Right. It was change is a coming, and the government needs to kind of get out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
And when if we want free love,
right?
If the patriarchy wants to convince women that liberation means taking off your bras and being promiscuous, that was one of the greatest moves of the patriarchy.
I know. It's amazing. It's amazing how
they pretended to care.
Women's liberation resulted in doing exactly the things that men wanted to happen.
Long live the patriarchy.
It's kind of one of those.
They didn't even see it.
One of those remarkable things.
Notice.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. Sure. So you're going to take off your bra because that's
how you stick it to the man.
That's how you stick it to the man.
Yeah, right, and then sleep around a lot.
Oh yeah, we never wanted that.
No. Yeah, you got us.
Yeah.
That's feminism.
You just won.
You win.
Okay. How about this one? The individual versus the group. So the old left emphasized the individual.
Right.
individual rights.
Oh, I see where this is going.
And the modern left emphasizes this whole
Group identity.
group identity.
Yeah.
And if you're a black person, you have to think this way. If
You're not black enough.
Exactly. Yeah. And if you don't vote for me, you're not black. That's modern.
What? Yeah. Any woman who votes for Donald Trump hates women, right?
Right. Yeah. It's group identity, which is a radical change from the older left. Okay. So equality. The old left actually believed in equality in the sense of everybody being treated the same. The new left believes in this stupid thing called equity, where everybody has the same outcome.
AKA Marxism.
Yes.
That's it.
From each according to his means.
It's that we all end up in the same place, says Kamala.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So I guess the bottom line is the new left is just radically different from the old left.
So how does it? Let me suggest something here.
Okay.
There were two. There was the libertarian "leave me alone" strain of the left, but there was also the those waving the Vietnamese flag in the face of American soldiers.
Yeah.
Commie lovers.
Yes.
I would say I would say that it was like an 80-20 split at the time, libertarian. And
there certainly was a tendency on the left that we grew up with to some of them went all in for communism and promote. And I think what that was an extension of their rebelling against authority. It was like we're rejecting American authority, and then we're going to reject American authority, but we're going to accept this other stupid authority.
Yeah, but just because it sounds radical.
Yeah.
Right? Yes. It seems hardcore.
Yes.
And but that, they didn't think it through. You see a lot of that going on, but that's what that was. However, over the last 20, 30 years, they've won out.
Yes, the Marxism...
This 80-20 that I just made up.
Yeah, Marxism has been mainstreamed on the woke left. Yeah, absolutely. If you listen to what Kamala says, she's basically straight up a Marxist.
Yes. So we libertarian hippies got left behind, and even Bill Maher is like, what happened to you guys? What happened to us? Because he's. I don't know what he's probably our age, I guess.
Yeah,
maybe older. He was, he was a hippie libertarian. Has stayed true to his roots, and now he's like, I don't even recognize you guys.
I know who are you people? What have you done?
Do you remember what it means to be liberal?
Right. Yeah.
So there you go.
So the old left, the left that we grew up with is gone, and a lot of the people who were Democrats back in the 70s and 80s. Have basically said, "I'm done with this," and they're becoming more conservative. They're leaning more towards the Republican Party because the Republican Party is preserving a lot more.
Conserving.
Preserving a lot more of what they were really attached to.
So, do you have anything to say about your formal definitions before we move on to phase 2?
No, I'm done. So yeah. What do you got?
All right. Well, I have the old slippery slope.
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
Can I time travel once again?
Yes. Okay.
This time I'm going much further back.
What happens when you get older?
In 4.5 years. I'm going to go back about 25 or 30 years.
Right. Yeah.
When people said, "So, what do you think about this crazy gay marriage kind of thing?" And I was like, "Well, I'll tell you what. Is this it? Are you done here? The LGB, well, there was no T. LGB.
That's it, right. LGB, which makes sense. Lesbian, gay, bisexual, all those things clump together because they have to do with who you fancy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, not once who you identify as.
After you add all the other letters don't make any sense. It doesn't,
Okay. So they're like, I was like, all right. Are you telling me that if we concede on this marriage thing, that I'll stop having to see this outsized influence, this tail wagging the dog while 97% of us have to talk about the 3% all the time. Will you then just
will you shut up?
Will you
please?
quietly go and have sex the way you want and love who you want and just leave everyone alone? Or this is what I projected in my evil mind.
Yeah.
I said, or is someday we're going to end up having Gay History Week in public schools.
Yeah.
So that was as extreme as I could think of.
Okay.
Well, I wasn't even close.
No. And also, you haven't backed up enough.
All right, so we'll start our slippery slope on this little
chart that we have.
Yeah, this little chart, this little meme graphic thing starts with
let us get married.
But you're saying that's not where it starts.
No, it's not where it starts at all. It was before let us get married. It was leave us alone.
Yeah, okay.
It was just tolerate us.
Gosh, I don't want to be discriminated against in housing.
Right.
You can't deny me to employment.
Just leave me alone.
Just treat me like everybody else, and we'll just live our own lives, and everybody will be fine.
And that's the way it was for so long. Everybody knew. Everybody knew there was an area in town where certain things. Okay, so leave us alone. The next part of it,
right? Don't bring the cops in gay bars because men are kissing.
Right.
All right. Can we just be left alone?
Just leave them alone. Okay. Everybody knows that's what's going on there.
All
right. Go fine.
So this is 2 steps before our chart.
And then the next step was domestic partnership. And back in those days, gays didn't like marriage. They didn't like the concept of marriage. They said, "Look, we're not in this whole marriage thing."
The stated position of Stonewall magazine, which was the preeminent gay magazine based on Stonewall, was we're not interested in marriage.
No, marriage is not our thing. What are you talking about? That's a heterosexual thing. We don't do that.
And your white picket fences and your shopping carts at Walmart and you know what I mean?
So
PTA,
it started off with left
PTA
alone.
meeting?
Then it was domestic partnership, which was give us hospital visitation rights, allow
inheritance stuff.
Inheritance. It was other kinds of things that
we need those same legal rights.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. You got your civil union and your domestic partnerships.
Yeah. Then somehow or other, some cabal of gay influencers sitting around in a smoke-filled room decided, no, we're actually going to change our mind. Now we're going to be all in on marriage. I don't know why. They thought that was how...
And then Stonewall caved.
Yeah.
Said,
and they decided,
yes, we are.
This is how we're going to kind of normalize. What we're doing isn't normalizing enough. We're going to go in for marriage. So then it was let us get married.
All right.
So now we're on your chart.
All right, now we're on the chart. Phase 2 of the chart is...
Bake our cake.
Yes.
So it's not just leave us alone. It's now...
You must endorse.
You must participate.
Yes.
Yes. You must participate.
There's a cake guy down the street. He'll bake it for you. Not good enough.
And you must do it. We're going to have to make you do it because that's the way it is. Now, next is use our pronouns. Yeah. Now, here's where cleverly, this is where the color gets introduced.
Right. So at this point, we were at LGB.
Yes, because the gays were still he. The gay guy was still he. And the lesbian was still her.
He's a man, and that's how I like it.
Yeah. And then, so somehow, this whole pretend phony coalition, LGBTQ plus IA, all this other kind of craziness.
Two-spirit.
Yeah. Somehow or other, that morphed from, who we fancy and who we love to, like, we can flop around between this and that. And that became use our pronouns, which was...
It became not just I'm a man who loves a man. I
really am a woman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I can change it anytime I like.
Exactly. And then allow minors to... What is this? Allow minors to dance for us in drag. This is so disgusting.
Right. How did this become part of the gay community? Was to go to your gay bars and see your dragging. Okay, that's part of your thing. That's fine.
Yeah, but the idea of saying, okay, we're going to have a parade, and we're going to have a bunch of kids out there,
right, which is public. But no, you have like afternoon gay bar family time.
Yeah, and you have a kid, an 11-year-old kid, up there wearing drag, doing this stuff.
Or you give your children dollar bills to stuff in the trousers.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gotten really ridiculous. Yeah. And then, of course, it's all become invested in this, or infested the schools. So now let teachers choose your kid's gender. The parents don't get to know. The parents don't get to know anything.
The end of the slippery slope.
I don't think we're at the
not
end.
the end.
We're not at the end.
No, it's going to keep getting worse.
No, it's going to go all the way down to hell. But yeah, so this where we are now is the parents aren't allowed to know that your kid thinks he's a girl or whatever. But the teachers can.
And the teachers will teach gender ideology.
Yeah.
And if you have been coerced into thinking that you're another gender, then the teachers will participate in the delusion, and they will also participate. Then, so step 7 or whatever that's not on here is then the state will castrate your child.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
whether you like it or not.
Right.
Yeah.
Because.
And here's the weird thing. Usually Europe is more liberal than America, right? Yeah. But Europe has been backing away from this stuff because they've realized that there's no science supporting it, that's
France,
really bad.
England, Scandinavia,
right?
Like, whoa,
they're back.
Whoa,
they're saying, look, no, this is really all the stuff that we were told. There's no science here. It's nonsense. It's actually hurting kids. This is the wrong thing to do. They're backing away from it. The American woke left is pushing it harder and harder.
Like good old Tim Walz.
Yeah.
He is all in. So's
Scamala.
So's Fake Harris.
Yeah. So, okay. The slippery slope, there's supposed to be this thing called the slippery slope fallacy.
Yes.
Which says slippery slopes aren't as slippery as you think they are, that usually there's like a point where you stop. But on this one, it doesn't seem to be.
Once you get 40 years of evidence, there's no real.
On this one, there doesn't seem to be any stopping point. I don't know where the stopping point's going to be. When they start, there are so many things where I think, good grief, isn't this enough? Haven't you finally realized this has gone too far and you're going to stop? And no, they just keep going.
No, it will be mandatory discrimination against parents and heterosexuals.
Yeah.
I mean, is that next on the list here? Well, usually, so a cheery note to end this.
Okay,
what do you
good.
got?
A cheery
I know I don't have anything.
You don't have anything cheery. Okay. All right. A cheery note. Well, let's see. I think that how about generally speaking,
pendulum swinging thing?
I was about to go right
okay.
there. Generally speaking, there's this wave. Things get more conservative, they get more liberal, they get more conservative, they get more liberal. And if you look over the course of history, the 1900s were more conservative. The 1920s with the flappers and all that were crazy liberal. And then things got more conservative in the 50s. And then they got more liberal in the 60s. And Ronald Reagan came along. Things got more. So there is like this wave of things going too far one way. And then they go, back another way. So I'm kind of hoping that we are at the bottom of the trough. And things are going to start turning around and go in the right direction.
Yeah. Unless we get a certain president.
Yeah, in which case we're just doomed.
And then it's the collapse of the Roman Empire.
Yes, that happens too. Cheers. Thanks so much for listening to Beer and Conversation with Pigweed and Crowhill. Remember to visit us at pigweedandcrowhill.com or send us an email at pigweedshow@gmail.com.